Hello, everybody. We are back again. Episode number 11, my favourite number. I don't know why, it just always has been. Anyway, football Leeds United is going really good at the moment. We're winning every week. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to complain. There's nothing to talk about. It's just all great, right, Andre? All good?
Yeah, I think you were referring probably to an FC26 save of yours, or a football manager save of yours, because in reality, yeah, it's really stressing for us as people who follow the club, and I cannot imagine how stressful would be. It is not would be. It is right now for everyone at the club, honestly, because the pressure is pointing up. Red zone. So yeah, not a good moment to be a Leeds fan right now, but that's why we are Leeds fans, through thick and thin.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, it's just one of them things, isn't it? It is part of football. It's 90% difficult and hard and stressful. That 10% is amazing. And that's what we all live off, I guess. So I guess we're just waiting for that to come back. But yeah, I know we did anyway. A lot of other people have said it as well. Some people thought we'd do better. I expected this kind of situation, to be honest. Didn't really expect us to be much higher than this. But within that, there's little nuances that we need to speak about, and that's what we're going to do today. And we'll of course, we'll touch on the performance against Villa. I'll go first. I'll just get my bit out of the way. I'll let Andre chat. It's one of them. If you isolate it, if you do it as an isolated performance, which obviously I guess the players and the manager and all the staff do, that's what you do. And in that environment, you have to isolate each performance and find improvements from each one. But for me, the first half, and I was messaging you, Andre, during the game, in terms of what I love about football, that first half for me, based on what players we've got and all that stuff, was really, really good. I absolutely loved it. I love intensity in football. Not necessarily obsessed with tempo in the sense that everything has to be quick, but everything has to be done with aggression. For me, I love that. In their faces endlessly, whether that's you're sitting deeper and you've got, triggering a press and then you're in, that's high press. I don't really care as long as there's intensity to what we're doing. And that, again, that provides the identity. And in that first half, you could name what our identity was. That's what I loved about it. Yeah. Aggressive, front-footed, in their face, not giving them time. When we get the ball, can we attack directly? And honestly, I think it was a really good half. It was, in my opinion, now people might disagree. In my opinion, it was top 3 halves of the season, just from what I can remember, to be honest. I was really impressed with it. Again, looking at what we've got and who was on the pitch as well, I thought we did really well. Every individual, I thought, did their bit. I know obviously we'll talk about him in a bit, and Aronson's getting a lot of criticism. But for me, in that first half, I thought he was really good. And that he apologies, I can't think of words. He represented perfectly what we were trying to do. This hard-working, dogged team, aggressive team. So I was impressed with him in the first half. Yeah, and then the second half came and it was one of them. And do you know what's really difficult? And this is not about Leeds. This is generally just because it came into my head. When you end the first half really well, it's so difficult during that break to keep that energy because you're literally playing through the momentum, through the kind of, the emotion of it. So when you have a 15-minute break, you've literally stopped. Like you're not running anymore. It's hard to get back to that straight away. You have to kind of refine that. And I think that's what happened. You could see when they came out, because they were losing, because they were not happy, they came out with the aggression, whereas we couldn't maintain ours through the halftime. That's where the cliche of you don't want halftime to comes in, and it is true, you don't. When you're playing and you're playing well, you want to just keep playing. You could play for 90 minutes without a break. But you could see in that second half, they came out wanting to change this game, and we couldn't match our aggression that we had in that first half. We couldn't match the intensity. And we then lost a bit our way. I think do you know what it is for me? Fatigue-wise. And we're talking about, because Emery made a comment that we were tired. I think in terms of, and we will talk about the wingers, I think they were physically tired. But I also think there was a big element of mental fatigue in that game where you're so intense. That's a mental thing as well. You think about when you're working, when you get back from work. I know when I get back from coaching, I'm so tired but it's not physical, it's mental fatigue. And that makes you feel physically fatigued because you're just so drained. Yeah, so I think that's an element of it. I don't think we're unfit. I think we're actually very fit. I think Daniel Farke's reputation throughout his entire career is his teams are very fit. I think there's a mental fatigue there, and that's affecting them. It's just them little sprints, them little movements back to get back into shape. That start of the press, like I know you mentioned, Andrea, getting into the press earlier. That's a little mental fatigue where you're now reacting to what's going on and not being proactive in the moment. But yeah, that's kind of what happened for me, and we didn't find a way out of it. We weren't proactive in the game to change that. And the result was Villa brought on some really good players. We couldn't step up to them, and we lost our intensity and lost that level for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on many of the points you talk about, but honestly, for me, I think that in the first half, we were set up very well. We were compact when they advanced in our half, but it was difficult for them actually to get into our half, because we were blocking with the Longstaff and Tanaka, Tielemans and Kamal that were following them. So the midfield was positionally well balanced, was maintaining a good shape, and positionally pressing. It was not an aggressive pressing, but they were positionally well placed. The real pressing was from the Okafor, Aronson, and Metra, and that was the big distinction, a big difference from the first half to the second half. Because in the first half we blocked their initiatives in the middle. We didn't allow any verticality from them, any through ball, forcing them to the wings, making it difficult, making them rely on individual players, individual actions from the players of quality they have, of real quality they have. In the second half, they noted that, so he put on Malen because Emery saw that there was space in the final third for them to exploit from, to try to drag one of the midfielders out of that compact line we had in midfield, because I remember many good tackles, both high and low tackles, tackles on the ground from Longstaff and Amper, especially in the first half. That was the main change. In the second half, with the introduction of Malen, our shape changed. The midfielders were forced to be more deep into our own half. Okafor and Aronson, like you said, were fatigued. And the main difference was that our pressing with Metra all isolated up front wasn't happening anymore. So we were allowing them to get in control of the ball, get into their own rhythm. And we know that they have a lot of quality when they move the ball. That Emery is known for, is a very good record with Villarreal, especially.
Yeah.
And Villa, since he took over for them, but even when he was at Arsenal, everything criticized, but the setup he makes his team play is always very provable, very reliable on, very organized. And with the quality, we were dominated by them in the second half. Unfortunately, we were dominated by them in every area of the pitch. So what I expected from Farke, and that's why I say that I think that this time the effort from the players was there. It was really there. Like I remember me and you messaging in the first half saying they're playing for the manager. Yes, they were. They were showing the aggression in the first half. The team was mentally in the game. We were mentally in the game. The problem was that this time, of course, mentality can only get you as far, You also need to adapt in the game, because that's what Villa did at the start of the second half. Emery saw that his setup wasn't working. He took Dini out. He brought Malen. He brought Madsen in, because he wanted to play more offensive and wanted to exploit. The substitution of Malen, for me, changed everything, Even in the first goal, it was a mark because Ampadu was looking at Rodgers, who was already marked by Bogle, and there also should be a debate about why Bogle was the one marking Rodgers, was physically completely different from me, leaving Malen alone, Ampadu, with that decision, So it was unmarked through ball and Rodgers scored, But the main difference was that we were not pressing anymore. Okafor and Aronson were not doing that anymore. And Metra was the only one trying to do that, but he was completely isolated and got lost in the game. So Farke needed to act, and he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't. He watched. And I remember you saying that after the goal from Rodgers, said, now it's guaranteed that he's going to bring on Gnonto and Pirot. 2 minutes later, he brought on Gnonto and Pirot, you know. He's reactionary. He's not proactive. That's the problem. Because I think looking at the final 20 minutes of the game, you know, 15 minutes probably of the game, with the introduction of James and Gnonto, when Gnonto came on, you know, and especially also Pirot, you know, Leeds looked more like in the second, like they were playing in the first half, because James and Gnonto were higher on the pitch compared to Okafor and Aronson. That had that substitution happened way early in the game, I think we could have got the 3 points or at least 1 point, you know, because the shape of the team in the final 15 minutes, okay, we need to take into account onto that also that Villa wanted to protect their 2-1 advantage, you know, but the shape of the team looked more like it was in the first half, you know. So had those substitution happen earlier, I think it would have been a different ending for Leeds. But it's down to Farke because he waited too long. He didn't act, you know. And also the substitution of Tanaka, everybody's thinking about, yeah, but the fourth official said to him, it was on a yellow. Yeah, but Ampere was too on a yellow. And Tanaka was the most lively one from the in midfield out of the 3 midfielders that were on the pitch at the time, you know. So if you wanted to change, you had only Gruev because Stark, of course, was out. He was subbed off injured, you know. So I would have kept Tanaka, honestly. And if you wanted to change something with looking at the booking, it could have brought on Gruev because we would have maintained our balance. Instead, he decided to take off Tanaka and put Aronson in the number 8, a position he cannot cover, you know, in the Premier League. Especially with the introduction of a player like Ross Barkley in that specific moment was like twice as him, you know, in terms of body size. So yeah, I think a lot of the blame for how it went, you know, on Sunday is down to the manager and him not being proactive in the game, because I think the setup was very good. I agree with what you said about. I think it definitely was one of the 3 best first halves we had in the whole season, along with Everton and West Ham. The problem is that we don't have the depth and the energy to sustain that for 90 minutes. With West Ham and Everton, it went well this time because he didn't react. I remember against Everton when he brought on Aronson, the subs happened earlier, I think, if I remember correctly. He needed to do that again also in this game, but I think, you know me, I don't think the squad is good enough the way it is to stay up, but it's also down to work with what you have. And I think looking at how he set up the game plan, the game plan was set up properly. And just with the change of James and Gnonto earlier, I think it could have been a different ending, honestly, if we had reintroduced that pressing to their back line, you know, when they were in possession.
Yeah, it was a strange kind of second half, to be fair. Because you know what, it was always weird to me because, again, it was the changes that they made really early on, and you're thinking, right, we could be in trouble here. It's hard because there's a difference, or not a difference. There's a massive contrast between what we can change a game with and what they can change a game with, and I think that's the same for 99% of teams in the Premier League. But the difference was, of course, they brought their game changers on earlier, right? That's what we're saying. Whereas our game changers got 15, 20 minutes, or Gnonto got about 10. I think there's a time where, and this is where I want to talk about, this is where the importance of the team around the manager as well. So, for example, again, it's his decision in the end, obviously. But this is where, as an analyst, coming from that background, the reason you have a bird's eye view is because it's easier to see up there who's tiring, who's not getting back quick enough. Think about it, when you're on the dugout, everything's flat, right? Everything's in front of you. So it might look like the player's a bit more narrow when actually they're really wide and out of shape. That's one thing you find where you get a high vis or you're up there with the camera. You can see everything. And this is where the information needs to be, right, Okafor's starting position is too narrow or too deep. He's not deep enough, I'm assuming he's getting that information. I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just giving a little bit of an insight. So this is where then the coaching staff goes to the manager, look, Okafor's this, or on the other side, Aronson's too high. He's not pressing long enough. That's why we need to make a change. I'm assuming that's happening because obviously there's a lot of people involved in that. And the manager is clearly saying, look, no, keep it for now. Keep this. So that's where the decision needs to be a little sharper, a little quicker, because we were in a good position in that game. the intensity was always going to be difficult to stay for 90 minutes. That first 45, it's so hard to replicate that for 90 minutes. Even under Bielsa, we try, but there'd be times where we keep the intensity, but the pass execution was bad. We keep losing the ball. We had to keep getting back because we couldn't quite find the shape. Because they're human beings at the end of the day, and they'll go through difficult periods in games where they need rest. And this is where the bench is really important in that sense. And as you said, when Dan James came on, it was a very simple substitution, but one that worked. Stay high, stay wide, running behind. And
engage them.
Engage the fullback. Ask him questions. When Aronson's playing, naturally he becomes a lot more narrow, which gives the fullback a little bit of an easier ride. The midfielder or the centre-back will deal with him. Whereas Dan James stays on the fullback and literally says to that fullback, I'm your problem now. You cannot turn off for a second. I said this last season, regardless of Dan James's quality, that sounds disrespectful. At times in the Premier League, he's not proving consistently, obviously.
Yeah.
In the Championship, unbelievable.
Those are facts. You're not being disrespectful. It's down to the record.
Yeah, but despite he might not be the best winger in the Premier League, he is ultra quick. And if you can use that right, you can give him opportunities. And we saw that. The second he came on, stayed wide, stayed on the fullback. Was it Matson at that time? I think it was.
Matson, Dutch one.
And then obviously that opened up Bogle, who could advance a little more. Them two work really well together. They always have. That's another thing that's important. Combinations, partnerships.
Chemistry.
We need to get them back. Yeah, chemistry between the players. And you just saw, he just stayed on him. Every time he got it, wide, running behind to create that space between the fullback and the centre-back and run into it. Bogle played it through. 2 or 3 times we got through. With a better final ball or a better final decision, we could score a goal there. DCL, obviously, hit his hand.
Yeah, Maradona.
On another day, true. On another day, that's going in. And that was a substitution that worked. So credit, we should have done it probably 10 minutes earlier, right? Because their goals came from our front press.
Even earlier for me. Even around the 60th minute, honestly, for me, man. To be fair, because the signs were very visible, And remember, because me and you, of course, we exchanged opinions throughout the game. I remember I said, I don't like this. We are too low now. We are too low. We're not pressing anymore. So we need to make a change. I think he needs to be harsher, because you don't need to wait. Look at Emery. The set plus was not the setup was not working anymore. Have time to change straight away. So we were conceding too much. Okafor, Aronson was basically other midfielder at the time because he was too narrow, allowing the space like you said. Okafor was isolated and so frustrating, to be fair, because he is quality in terms of technique, ability, but he's too stubborn at times to try to beat his man. Or instead, he should have tried to keep the ball, control the ball, hold the ball to help the team to get further up the pitch, because we were too deep. Like hold up and wait for the others to pass the ball to one of the midfielders and then sprinting behind. It was too isolated. He only wanted to play 1v1, and it's getting frustrated a bit, because he has the ability, but you also need to be. In that case, it's not only down to him because he was isolated because of the way we were. Our balance completely went out of the window, in that second half. So it was wide, all alone on the left. But I think he tried too much to play the 1v1 instead of, okay, let's hold up the ball, try to pass the ball with a midfielder and try to help the team to get higher, or even change the side, switch the side, But about switching the side, Aronson was too narrow, so it was very difficult to do that because of the way we were set up in the second half. So,
do you know what it is with Okafor, mate? And Wingers Union here. I think he's in a situation where he's been told, obviously, to be direct. Yeah, right. And he's taking that as, he's probably looking at the team going, I'm the only player that can do this. So he's probably got that responsibility in his head to every single time I have to beat my man. 8 times out of 10, I'm all right with him doing that. But you are right. There's times where he's really wide. He's in a good area. Just wait 2 or 3 seconds. Goodmanson will overlap, or a midfielder will advance, or you can play it into DCL when he's set. I agree. But I feel like he's in a situation now in his own head where he's thinking, I've got to do this. There's no other player that's going to get it up the pitch. And I feel that. I do. I feel for him in that sense. But you're right with Okafor. And I like him a lot because I like direct wingers. There's something there. I think we've seen it, but it's just it's a little bit too choreographed now in the sense that fullbacks, they'll watch the clips.
True.
I mean, he makes about 20 dribbles a game. That's a lot of stuff to watch for an opposition fullback to get an idea of where his strong side is, where his triggers are to go inside or outside. That's where you need to be unpredictable. That's where you need to then switch your game up a little bit, create 1-2s, combinations with a striker, do something a little different. I still believe, excuse me, my voice is going.
No worries.
I still believe he's better when he's coming inside. I think the outside threat is good 2 or 3 times, but 7 or 8 times it gets predictable and quite easy to mark.
Yeah.
When he comes inside, when he mixes it up, I think he's as dangerous because he's a decent passer, Okafor, is what I've noticed. He's a good passer of the ball. That's one thing I think's underrated about him. He can switch it really well. And that's, to be fair, Nonto can do that as well. Nonto's too passive with it, where he'll go on the outside of everyone as opposed to going through. He'll go on the outside and pass it round. He needs to be more direct and go through them because he can do that, I think. But I like our wingers. I do. They're inconsistent and they're not quite finding their role, I think,
rhythm
at the moment. Yeah, the rhythm.
Yeah, they're not finding the GA either, and we need that. Absolutely looking at our strikers now. Match, of course, score at the City Ground score the other day, but I still don't see a prolific, consistent goal scorer, honestly, in our number 9, the Parliament. But finishing about Okafor, I think you're spot on about him on the inside, going inside, more central near the 9, because I think I labeled him when he signed as better as a second striker than as a winger for me. But for the outside, I think he's missing something, a creator next to him, because I can see him passing the ball and the creator next to him can completely send him through with the through ball
100%.
behind the fullback, and we don't have that kind of player. And it's massive in the Premier League because basically every team has it, and it looks like we are the only one without one. So that's why we're trying to advance the stack to try to adapt him in that position. But he's not the one. He's not the creator. He's a midfielder, a typical midfielder, not an attacking midfielder. Yeah.
Well, just like you said there. I mean, you've seen more of Okafor than me, but he's very pacey. He's quite explosive in his pace as well. Like, surely he's like Dan James did when he came on. How many times does Okafor actually get the ball in behind? He doesn't, does it? It's all to feet. And then he's expected to make the yards every single time. When you're an athlete that sprints a lot, that takes a lot out of your body. You need a minute or two to recover at times. Dan James is the same. After a sprint, he needs to rest. Everyone thinks he's been lazy. No, he's knackered. He needs a rest for 30 seconds. That's the way it is. And with Okafor, every time he gets the ball, it's a sprint, right, with the ball. That must be tiring. And like I said, earlier changes. But there is a way in which we can make him more effective in behind because he's very quick and direct. And we do need to find him. And you're right, that is with a creator or someone who's going to find that pass. Obviously, with Dan James, it is Bogle, who we know they have a combination. Like I said, they have a little bit of a camaraderie between them. They know each other very well now. So, there's work to do with the wingers. But, I think is a player, and this is where people talk about other managers that can bring more out of players. I do look at Okafor and think there's probably a manager out there who he is more suited to, who will look at him and go, yeah, we can play you a little narrower at times. We can find areas for you in the middle where you can drift in, combinations with a striker. But yeah, I'm just glad and touching wood that he's staying fit and he's getting sharper and sharper. Hopefully he does, because I do think he'll be a good asset for us.
Yeah,
really
that's
do.
massive.
Yeah.
That's massive because I still think he's not at his best, honestly. Of looking at how he played in Italy before his injury problems, I still think his fitness is not at full capacity yet. Looking at him, especially in the second half, he gets tired pretty quickly in games because he spends a lot of the time on the ball in the first half. Like you said, 1v1 individual play, so that's tiring.
It's tiring.
I think there's also another thing, because he drops a lot in deeper spaces to get the ball, and I think we lose him there because it's not efficient for the team there, and it's not efficient for him. It's pointless, honestly, because I think he is not effective in deeper spaces, like coming to get the ball near the halfway line. It's not effective there. It's it's a loss of energy that's not giving us an advantage. So I would like him to stay a little bit higher. And when we are defending, maybe closer to Calvert-Lewin, like Aronson does on the other side, to try to press the opposition fullback and in this case right centre back, between that passing line, because with him dropping back, honestly, I think he's too far from the goal, and he's not his game. That's not his game for me. Aronson can play that game because he can be more like a link-up player in that sense. I don't think Okafor is a link-up player. He's an out-and-out winger in that case. So I would like him to stay a little bit higher, honestly, because sometimes right now is a problem for us, and it's a pointless loss of energy when he comes near the halfway line to get the ball, and the goal is like at Biston Hill, compare in terms of the distance. So it's very, very far, and again, he's not a threat there. He's not a threat. When he's near their area, their box, of course he's a threat. So I would like him, honestly, in a formation to stay always more high compared to Aronson on the other side, honestly, because we can afford to, honestly, for me, looking at Aronson more sacrificed in the defensive end of the pitch. So we can afford to have Okafor next to Calvert-Lewin in that sense, more high to challenge their backline again.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. It's like we said, high sprinting player, high energy on the ball has to be the outlet. That is physically and mentally fatiguing for any player. It is when you're the guy that's got every time you get the ball, you've got to drive 20, 30 yards and beat a man or two and get the ball in the box every time. It's tiring. So I think he needs a little bit of help. He needs players closer to him. He needs some combinations there. And then, of course, it's down to him to find them players as well. It's a mix. It always is. But before we move on we're going to go through. So what we're going to do, I'll tell everyone, if you're still here, thank you, 30 minutes in. We're going to rank each signing so far. So we're going to have a little bit of a performance review on each player that we brought in, how they're doing so far. Are they under or overperforming? And then we're going to talk about some early transfers, stuff that me and Andre have been planning about players we could bring in. But just before that, we'll do it very quickly, mate. We won't spend too long. There's a lot to talk about Aronson. What are your thoughts on the Aronson situation, basically?
Well, I don't agree about the talk about mental health, to be fair. Of course, I condemn I've seen some absolutely unacceptable comments online. But I think when you are in a club, there's also always media training. So they suggest to the players not to look at the comments online for that specific reason. Me, I'm a supporter of everyone should be held accountable for what they write basically online on social media, because sometimes people think it is a different world and it can really affect people. But I think also that entering your ID should be mandatory when you have a social media account, because there's certain people that absolutely cross the line and say unacceptable things. We've seen in the past Farke compared to a German dictator. We've seen Aronson.
Mate, there was endless ones after the game with people, bad people. It's
exactly. And also I've seen someone typing like some suggestions to do harm, that harm yourself in a certain sense, and that's unacceptable, honestly. And that's why it should be regulated on social media, that everyone should be held accountable for what they write, because so many people think they can write and say whatever they like on social media, and it's something separated from the real world. It's not. You're offending people, you're threatening people, you're of course, I'm talking in general, not just related to football, but talking about the Aronson situation. It's been said that those comments, those people that I think are living in their own world, when they cross that line, they are unacceptable. I don't like, though, that there's this talk about a whole mental health situation, because I think the criticism regarding Aronson coming from the people who really want to talk about football. So I'm not talking about those people that are insulting, or that was just related on football, honestly, on football. Because in the end, even when the boos, or the criticism, I think if a fan pays his season ticket, gets to a game or supports the team in every way, like we know also the Leeds as a worldwide fan base, they have a right to criticize in a constructive manner. So without cross the line, of course, a player if he's not performing, or if they can praise him or they can criticize him, of course, always in a constructive manner, in an objective manner. I think with Aronson, honestly, you know me, I've always said that people expect him to provide what we need on the wing. The problem is that he's not that player. He's not a 1v1 player. He's not an Okafor, basically. You know me, I don't think he's a right winger. I think he works in different formations compared to the one we are playing. So it's not his fault, honestly, in terms of football ability or what he can bring to the table. It's also down to the formation for me. What he does really well, we see in the first half, he's trying to engage, to challenge the fullback, to press the back line. When we are in possession, when he has the rhythm, stop, pass the ball, the problem is that he is not consistent throughout the game. He is a system player. He's not a game changer. He's not a star player that can change the game with a single play. He's not a winger in this case that completely changes the balance of the game with one play, with one individual piece of brilliance. Like we've seen, for example, Hutchinson at Forest, or Baleba, for example, another one. But that's not down to him. It's down to recruitment, honestly, because we don't have that kind of player on the right. What he does compared to what Farke wants from him, he does it well in the first half. Pressing, trying to engage. He's more an off-the-ball player rather than an on-the-ball player for us. And that's what he can offer. I'm okay with that, for example, in the last 20 minutes of the game. But, my opinion, I think we needed an out-and-out winger, a top signing on the right. We didn't get one. So I think that absence is even more pointed out, in a certain sense, by the fans, because when they look at our formation, they see Okafor playing like Rafinha, in a certain sense, or Nyonto under Marsh, we were relying on an individual play, on wing play from one player, and people like, we've seen the Bielsa years when we had the wingers, all of them were sharp, they were attacking, they were 1v1 players, they were players also capable of running him behind. We don't have that type of player on the right. Aronson is a link-up player, he's a system player. He's a player that helps in the build-up, but apart from that, he's not. Don't expect him to dribble. Don't expect him to be like a De Bruyne, for example, kind of player. A Rodgers kind of player in that sense, or even a Malen, or talking about Villa when they had Bailey or Diaby. He's not the kind of player. So I don't think the blame is entirely on him, honestly, because you can blame that type of player. He is that type of player. You can change that. You can change that. So I think it's more down to the fact that we are lacking a proper right winger, and we're playing him, expecting him to do things in terms of a fan base that he cannot do because he's not that type of player. But what Farke wants from him, he does it well. But the other problem is that he's not consistent in games. So that's why I think he, especially in the second half, he's underperforming. He fades through game. He starts very well in terms of running all around, engaging, pressuring the opposition. But apart from that, when he's out of steam, he fades into the game, and that's why the substitution needed to happen. Yeah. So see, I've talked about football. I don't want to touch because I think that's a different matter. The people crossing the line online, and I think they don't know what you're doing, basically. Because even thinking that it's all right to slate a player, an individual, a person with life, with a girlfriend, a family. Just criticize. If you want to criticize him heavily, criticize him for what he's doing on the pitch. Don't cross the line. I've seen some comments about Struyk, Farke, Aronson, but again, I want to talk about football. I think that specific topic is a very different one, and it relates to society in general more than just football. But let's let's handle them then. If they think that it's a problem, I remember the club calling out when Gnonto got some abuse in the past. Never happened when other players got that recently. But yeah, you can call out everyone basically. But I think in general, it's not down just to the football club, but a society in general with the institution to act about that, because I think we've seen people really affected in the past. So yeah, I'm talking about society in general. But yeah, just talking about football, I think the criticism is fair if it's related to football, honestly. But I still think he's not his fault mainly. He's that kind of player. We can expect him to be a player he's not clearly.
Yeah. No, that's always my thing. You're criticizing him for being something that he's never been. And yeah, it's true, mate. It is. I think it's down to respect and kind of understanding. I see it every day when I go to work on the tram. Old people or older people. There'll be kids or teenagers, older teenagers, 16, 17-year-olds that are all sitting on the seats, and the older people have to stand up with nothing to hold on to.
Yeah.
Respect. When I'm younger, you're getting up and you're letting them sit down. That doesn't seem to happen.
Yeah, we are a fair society, man. I'm resigned to that. I think as Europeans, in the continent, especially the younger generations, people talk about younger generations are not living in a good world for them. Yeah, I get that, but we also see for a lot of reasons, and I think a lot of reasons are related to social media and how social media have changed. Especially those challenges, those untouched way of handling yourself in a certain sense, and a respectful manner towards others, so the younger generation sometimes thinks it's okay to act, to behave in a certain way, and clearly it's not. And I think we haven't realized that yet, but we see a rise in many things, in terms of disrespect and things that are wrong with society that we haven't realized that yet, but we are edging towards a fake society. For me, I'm resigned to that, honestly.
Yeah, me too, mate. That's why I just try and leave it in football. One thing I always liked about a football team and being involved in football is it's a group of people that most times, obviously, it's not always a great environment, but from my experience, it's always been a good environment, really good people who are all there. They all respect each other. They all have a common goal. If someone doesn't respect another person, they won't be there. They will be removed. It's a good environment. And that's why I always try to stick to football. I just love it. I love the feeling of being part of a team that are trying to achieve something. So, yeah, and it is a thing, mate. It is frustrating. Do you know what it is? When I was growing up, if I wanted to see my friends, I'd have to walk to their house, knock on their door, and go see them and spend time with them. Now, if you want to see your friends, you have a phone, you can text, you can FaceTime. When I was younger, you had to top up your phone with credit, and never had much credit. Because where am I getting the money from? I'm a kid, I don't work, so I had to go to my friend's house, which was like a mile and a half, a walk every night, every day. And I did that. And then when you go to the shop, there was no self-checkout back then, so it was literally, you have to talk to people to interact. You have to give money, you have to give cash, it's not all, yeah. And social media was smaller and it was very personal. And your name on social media was your name in real life. Everyone knew who you was. But anyway, we could talk about that for hours. I know we could.
Yeah, probably for weeks, man.
We genuinely could. Yeah. But this, just on quickly on Aronson, then we'll move on. I'm going to give a recruitment perspective of it all. And this is how I kind of feel about it. So imagine you're a Premier League team. You work for a Premier League recruitment team. You're a scout. You're being told, right, we're looking for a right winger in Europe. Right? Okay. Any list, any search you do, Aronson will not be on it. Yeah. One, because he's not a right winger.
He's not a right winger, exactly.
That's the main one, right?
That's the main reason,
My point being in the season, at the start of the season, was there's probably 200, 300 wingers that will be higher up on that list than Aronson. Not saying they're all better players, but they're wingers. And you're in the Premier League. You look at every single team, or most of them, their wingers are wingers. Or they're very good players that can play out on the wing. Aronson is, I think for us, his role and I mean this with respect, because I think he's very good at this, he'd be a really good impact sub. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think if we need energy, if we need even playing counter-attacking, if we're doing, we just need someone to bring energy and provide energy and, you know, stuff like that he does, I think it'd be perfect. And I mean that with respect, by the way, because I think that is needed. I think that would be much needed if we have, you know, explosive wingers, or we do play with a number 10 again, and we're just looking for someone who's going to do a bit more press from the front, keep the pressure upon the opposition. I think it'd be very good for that. But the fact is, he's been over-relied on in a position he's not a player, he's not a winger. And this is so I'm not going to criticize. I like him. I do. I think I've got thingies with him because he's my fellow skinny legend. So I have a lot of rapport with him.
You look a bit actually like his brother, you know, in a certain sense, like Paxton Aronson. You know, he's playing for Colorado Rapids, I think.
Yeah, strange move that, by the way. He was doing quite well.
He was doing well in Europe, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, So look, people can say what they want about Aronson. I like him. I'm not saying I like him in this system playing on the wing. I don't. Someone else should be in there. But I like him being part of that team.
I am honest. I'm honest. I'm not his biggest fan, to be fair, honestly, as a player, in terms of a player, you know. I think the best we've seen from him was still when he was, is still when he played in Austria, to be fair. I don't think he has improved a lot since those days, honestly. I think, honestly, I think the best consistency that he had was even when he played there, you know, as a playmaker, moving all around, also moving to the wings, you know, but as a playmaker, not as a right or left winger. So, yeah, he has not convinced me, honestly, since he moved to Leeds, and especially also at Union Berlin. You know, he did all right last season, you know, improved, but that's sustainable in the Championship. He's shown that he can be effective as an impact sub for me, yeah. But as a starter, honestly, in the Premier League, I'm not convinced, honestly.
No, me neither. But it's just you know, we try and be fair here. I never
absolutely.
get personal. I never say this player's terrible. I don't think any professional football is terrible. I just think there has to be a certain fit for certain players. With Aronson, it's like, you know, I still see him do things in games where he'll take 3 guys on easily. And I'm thinking, if you could consistently do that, and then the end product is even just a simple pass, you'd be so much more effective. I feel like he needs someone or a specialist to work with him. Maybe he already has. I don't know, but he's talented, is what I'm saying. I think he's talented. I think his balance is really good, and yeah, I don't know.
I remember I saw a game last season, Tottenham against Roma, and Dybala moved in the final third. You know, he's not very pacey. He's not very fast now, Dybala. But the quality of the touches that he had was on point, you know, and the way he moved off the ball. I think Aronson should mirror his game, looking at Dybala in the final third, honestly, because he's not an out-and-out winger, Dybala, because he plays as a second striker now. But yeah, I think he needs to mirror his game if he wants to grow into that role compared to, for example, Dybala in that sense, you know.
Yeah, he's got
like an advanced playmaker. Yeah, finding his identity. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
We know what he can bring physically. We know his limitations physically. I think it's finding around that, finding what he can be and how he can be most effective, and that's something he has to do. That's not always down to manager. That's down to individual as well. But yeah, that's it on that. What we're going to do now, we're going to go through each new signing we've made this season, and we're going to have a chat about it, and we're going to talk about how we believe they've been doing. Are they over or underperforming? We'll start off. We'll just do it in the order they are, mate. We'll start off with Anton Stach. Do you want to take this one? What are you feeling on Anton Stach this season? 15 million we bought him for, I believe.
Yeah. Well, it's very simple for me. You know, we just talk about Aronson playing in a role that is not his role, basically. So he can offer something there, but he cannot offer what we need in that role. You know, I think it's the same for Stach, to be fair. I think he's underperforming, but it's not. I don't think it's the main fault relies on him. I think he relies on how the squad was built, honestly, because it's clear that he is not an attacking midfielder. He's not a box-to-box number 8. People look at the heat maps and say, yeah, but often he was moving all around. Yeah, but he was moving all around as a number 6 playmaker, and they were playing a different system. I think he's an alternative to Ampadu, honestly. He's an alternative to Ampadu. In that role, he started all right, moving, but then when the first difficulties arise, I think his performances have massively dropped compared to the start of the season. Again, I don't think he's down to the type of or to the quality of the player, because of course, as a playmaker, I think he's quality, but as a number 8, I don't think he's his best. Is his position, honestly, in the Premier League. I think he can be an alternative to Ampadu, or can be a player playing next to Ampadu if we play with a 4-2-3-1. But again, there you will lose Tanaka, for example. I think Tanaka is better suited for this system. I think Tanaka right now is ahead of Anto Stack, because Tanaka is made for that role and Stack is not. Very simple for me.
Yeah, this is the point that we made when we signed Stack, and people told us we were wrong, even though I'm convinced a lot of them didn't even watch him. That's not. I genuinely don't think they did. I think they actually didn't. I think someone said that, but I always say to anyone, even if after this we're going to do our own players that we want, I always advise players, watch them yourself, make your own opinion based on what you see. Watch your 45 minutes if you can find one somewhere. There is places where you can find them.
Yeah.
So people say, how do you always watch football? There's places, but like
the archives, the archives, yeah,
the archives, yes. So always watch a player. When we signed Bogle, every Sheffield United fan was saying he's rubbish. So then meant a lot of Leeds fans then said he's rubbish. Have you watched? Go watch him. Make your own opinion. I did that on Goodmanson. Unfortunately, I watched against Liverpool where Mo Salah obliterated him, and he was the trigger for the press. Every time he got the ball, they pressed him, and it was bad. Goodmanson, we'll get onto him. But my point being, just watch the player. When I was watching Stark, I'm going, sitting deep, decent. He's decent in that role because he's probably a little quicker than a lot of sixers, in the sense that he's long, he can use his body well, which means over 5 meters, he's quite decent at driving past someone if he's been pressured. That's what I quite like about him. But to try and translate that into a guy who has to sprint 10, 15 meters forward and back, is asking too much of him. I don't think it's, again, like Aaron said, I don't think it's a him problem. I think it's a system thing for him. I think he is a good player. I think he can be seriously effective in this team if he's used right. If we'd have brought in a more box-to-box, aggressive, 1v1 kind of dribbler midfielder that we will talk about later, Stack would be an excellent part behind that. I really do believe that, because he does cover ground. And if that guy does go forward and loses out, Stack and Ampadu, or even a Longstaff or a Tanaka, them 4 around that would be perfect. Imagine the rotation you could have as well per game. You could change that around. It'd be beautiful. But we didn't do that. So yeah, for me, Stack, it's a hard one. I'd say I think latter end is underperforming, but earlier season he was very good. I think it evens out because I don't think it's a him thing. I really don't. I think it's he's been asked to do a lot of stuff that he's not suited to. So from that, you'd probably say underperforming at this point. But I don't think it's been terrible. I think there's been times where it's been really effective for us. And I think there's been times where you've not really noticed he's played. So it probably evens out for me. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I think he's, like I said, I think he's underperforming, but he's underperforming because of the role he's asked to cover. Honestly, I don't think he's the solution in that role. He's a very good player for me, but as a number 6. Because he's a different number 6 compared to Ampadu. If you want to switch this formation and play, but we cannot because we don't have a number 10. If you want to play with 2 more conservative midfielders, honestly, I think next to Ampadu, he can work really a partnership duo with Ampadu, but in different formation, honestly. With him going forward, I think his best game was against Everton, honestly, because it was the first game of the season. The other teams didn't know what to expect from us. So Stack was very effective in the final third there, but apart from that, honestly, I don't think it's his main role, because he can even be effective, when he progresses, if he have an opportunity. But again, he doesn't have the pace to track back after that. That's the problem. We are too exposed for me when he gets forward now.
Have you seen A Day in the Life with him?
No, I haven't yet. I've seen the Minecraft.
Yeah, it seems like a funny guy. I'd get on with him, honestly. If in another life, he's my mate, because he literally they went to his house and he was pretending how to cook, and then he literally went, "I don't usually do this. I don't know what I'm doing." I'm like, "That is me." My girlfriend is the one she's the chef. She's very good at it. He was the same. He stood there like, "What do I do?" And then all he does after football, he just goes and plays video games. I'm like, it's literally me.
Yeah,
we'd be good mates. Stack, if you're watching. Add me on Discord, mate. But yeah, anyway, yeah, big up. See, it's the difference between judging a footballer and then judging a person, you know.
Yeah, it looks like a
all-
very, very likable person, to be fair. Even the
Yeah,
graphics, I suggest, as I was, as I worked at Vajana as a head of social media in the past, I suggest when we are losing, don't overdo that though, because it will get the fans really, really mad. I know I like him for keeping his identity, and bringing himself on his mentality, not mentality,
yeah.
his attitude, the way he is, very transparent, on social media. But when we are losing, don't overdo that, because it will turn the fan base against you, honestly, because they will see that he's not concentrating on football. He's not. So yeah, at the time I was advising the players not to do a lot of social media. Or not, honestly, I was advising them to not do social media at all. But yeah, to be diplomatic, not to do a lot of social media when we at the lost or when in a crisis period, So yeah, it's a friendly suggestion to Anton Stack. Yeah,
we'll be on a 10-game losing streak. Stacks put 6 stinkers back to back, and then he'll just put a picture up of him dressed as like a Minecraft pig or something with a pig. I kind of rate it. I love it. But anyway,
great graphics though. Congratulations to the graphic designers he's using.
It's his girlfriend that does it, I believe.
It's his girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah, his girlfriend does it.
Good on her. Good graphics. Yeah.
Yeah, funny. But anyway, we'll move on to the goalkeeper. Right, I'll start this one off, Andre.
Yeah, go on.
I always find it hard to judge goalkeepers because I'm not one, and I'm not really bothered by him. They shouldn't play it I just don't know. It's not my thing. I've seen moments of Perry this season, but that's an unbelievable save. I don't think he's performing at a level where he believes he should be. I think he probably thinks he's underperforming. I do. We talk about the free kick, for example, and people are going to tell me, I've spoken to one of my friends is a very good goalkeeper. He said he should dive. I'm sorry. Look, at the end of the day, the ball is a good strike, yeah, but a good strike shouldn't always mean a goal. It's gone over the first man in the wall who didn't jump. But I think it's savable. I don't understand on any penalty or free kick why the option is to stand in the middle. Just dive anyway. Just make a choice, left or right. I think he's had some good moments this season. I don't think his distribution's been good enough up to the strikers. I think his passes are often too wide or too hard hit. They're not great balls into the strikers. They have a lot to do. He kind of leaves them floated a bit too much, which obviously favours the centre-back. I think they need to be a little more lower, kind of into the flick-on zone for the striker, where they can flick it. They're a little too floated. I'm finding this one difficult, mate, to be honest. Go on, I'm difficult with goalkeepers. I don't know. Go on.
No, I will be very direct, honestly. Kimri and Bith. Carl Darlow. That's the answer for me, honestly, because I wonder. We talked about video games and stuff. I remember when I was playing in the past Call of Duty Cold War. There was a mission and called Echoes of a Cold War. Honestly, when I'm talking about Perry, Echoes of Ilan Melia recently. Okay. He's not inspiring me a lot of trust, a lot of confidence going forward with him. We remember Melia had some games where he absolutely saved us, but then if you look at this period as it started with Leeds, when we went down, honestly, and even the last season when we got relegated, it's the mistakes outweighed the decisive saves, honestly, for me. And looking at Perry, honestly, I'm not inspired. I wonder where the good goalkeeper that would play at Lyon has gone, honestly, because he was a completely different keeper at Lyon. He looks shaky right now. I get worried when the ball is near him, even by looking at his body language and his presence in the box. The way he's commanding the box, even on corners. On long balls, on free kicks. So I would say he's underperforming, looking at the City ground and even in the early stages of the season. I think before he got injured, he had one good game, the one before he got injured, actually. Then I think against West Ham, it was all right, yeah. But in the games after the West Ham game, honestly, I think he looked shaky and mistake at City ground. He had a very good save, but after that mistake, a very big howler. They call, like they're called gatta in Italian. I think even in Portuguese, gatta means a cat, basically, a female cat.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like meow, the ball going
Yeah.
in a certain sense. So yeah, I think he's underperforming right now, and we are talking about competition. We're talking about Tanaka should play, James should play. The debate about outfield players, I think the debate should be brought up even with the goalkeepers, honestly, because right now I think Darlow, when he played, he was reliable. I remember talking with Joe before the other international break, before Pierre returned. I said, if the change needs to happen, it should happen after the international break. Because Darlow was performing well, I think. And I would have kept Darlow, to be fair. But I get the point that we spent a lot of money for a goalkeeper, for Perry. He's a number one, we trust him. But what I'm seeing right now is, I think, competition is healthy. We have two number ones, because Darlow has proven that he can be a number one this season, even with Wales. He's going to be the goalkeeper in the playoffs. Luckily, I hope not at the World Cup, because in the final, that if they got past the semi-final, that will mean that if we get past Northern Ireland, they will face us in Cardiff. So yeah, Carl, if you can have a bad game that night, hopefully, if we are to face. But yeah, I think Perry is underperforming, and I will be in favor of a change with Darl right now.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think he's underperforming. He's not the player we expected. I actually don't think he's happy. I get the vibe that he's probably not impressed with how he's playing consistently. We need that to improve.
Yeah,
regardless of who it is. Go on.
That's a strange thing too, because he went out for a muscle injury, if I remember. Yeah. But he returned, and now he has a completely different haircut. I'm not the only one, I think, that's seen that. He has a completely different haircut. And he looks well. Very good haircut. I might model my hair in the future with this one. So yeah, see, we are criticizing the players for their performance, praising them, but Struyk, we praise him for the video games, and Perry for his new haircut. Yeah.
Yeah, good new hairline. Not as Rodon's is better, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, he looks well. He looks well.
Yeah, it does.
I was surprised because when he signed it, he had a completely different one. Yeah.
Right. We've added Jack Aronson in because obviously he wasn't here last year. It is effectively like a new signing in the Premier League. So we won't. I don't want to spend too long. I don't want people to turn off with this one, Andrea. So I went first last time. Yeah. So go on, Jack Aronson.
Massively underperforming. Honestly, I think he started well in as a sub at the start of the season, but now we only see cameos from him. We see his game time reduced. The last time we saw him, I conceded a penalty in a very unsmart way, at the City ground. You know what I think? I think his time at Leeds was done after the relegation. We had to hope he performed well at Everton the first season, but he didn't. He stayed there, and nobody will sign him in the summer, and it was difficult to sell him in the summer. We need to think about, if not a sale, and I think it's very unlikely, at least a loan to free up space in January. I think it can be likely a loan to an MLS club for me.
Yeah, we need pure impact. That's where we are. He's one of them players, and I think that's why he's done well in the Premier League, or he's played a lot in the Premier League. He can offer a lot in terms of training as well. For all intents and purposes, everyone said he's the best trainer. He's really good at training. That's important for a team, that you have someone who's always setting that tempo and standard at training. I think where his struggles have come is dealing with, I guess, the criticism or atmosphere at the stadiums. Clearly, like, technical player, really impressive. Like, his first touch is an absolute joke, by the way. Still one of the best first touches I've seen. His first touch is really good. But what we need right now, and what is required, I don't think he suits that. If we're a team that has let's say 3 really explosive, exciting wingers that are performing really well. He can come on, slow the game down, maintain possession, defensively solid, like Aronson, I guess, in a certain sense. Good, fine. But what we need from our wingers right now is 4, in my opinion, 4 really quick, direct, explosive wingers, and he doesn't suit that. So for me, at this point in the team, there's not a role for him, and I agree. I think alone would be a good thing, so we can free up that space and bring on a exciting, direct winger, a one-on-one winger for me. But yeah, we'll leave that there on Aronson.
Aronson, yeah.
Everyone does that, don't they? It's terrible. It's so I'll stop.
They both grew up near New York, by the way, because he went to college in New York City, and Aronson is from New Jersey, so yeah, similar areas, Yaka.
Next one, Jakabiol, right? Jakabiol. Again, this comes down to expectations. I think, obviously, having your opinion, he played in Italy last year, so you'd have seen a lot of him. Then watched myself, watched 2 full games before he joined us, just to try and figure out what type of player he was. What I got from that was, I like his aggression, I like his presence, decent on the ball, seems like a decent commanding defender, but lacked agility, lacked pace. Now that's fine in the Premier League, again, depending on what system you play, what players you have around you. Look at the guy at what's his name at Forest, centre back. Is it
Nikola Milankovic?
Yeah. Not quick, not agile, but he's adapted to the league well because he has players around him, really good runners that can really help him behind, help him front. He's got a lot of cover. He's got a lot of protection. Bogle is new to this league. It's a different situation. We're a newly promoted side. I think although he wasn't bad, I'm not saying he was bad when he played, he's actually all right. I don't think he's a step up that people expected. Again, I take it back to, before you see one clip of a player, running up the pitch, don't judge him on that. Watch your 45 minutes. Watch a game before you have an opinion on a player, because a lot of people were really excited about this. I was like, I'm excited in the sense that I think he could be decent, but even from my expectations, I don't think I've seen an upgrade on Struyk. I don't think he's an upgrade on Struyk. I think he's underperforming. I think he can be better. That will take time, I believe. And yeah, that's where I'm at with him. What about you?
Yeah, it's difficult, Gremo Slovenci. I don't know, man. Honestly, it's difficult because I think he is a good player in a back 3 in the middle, because the back 3 helps to cover his weaknesses.
Yeah, less exposed. Yeah.
Less exposed. Yeah, it needs to be said that they play with a back 4 with Slovenia. They are having a very bad run result recently. Lost at home in Ljubljana at the Stožice against Kosovo, for example. They had a very bad qualification campaign with the Matjaž Kek in charge. They play with a back 4, Bogle and Kušić. But yeah, I think your point is fair. When we are in possession, he slows the tempo down. Struyk completely ups on the other side. On the contrary, he ups the tempo. He's fast. He knows. He has vision. Bogle can dictate or play from the back in a back 3 like he did in Italy when he was barely pressed. Because apart from a couple of teams now, Como with Fabregas, Atalanta at the time with Gasperini, now Roma, of course, with Gasperini. There's Inter Milan. There's not many teams that have the capacity to press high during the game. It's a tactical league, Italy, Serie A, yeah.
I was going to ask Andre, so on that, then people will be screaming, why don't we play back 3?
Because we don't have the capacity, like I said. People will have the meme, we don't have the capacity. Remember that?
I actually, so just on that, very
finance
quickly,
minister,
I think it's if you look at the defense, which people are doing, and that's correct. I actually think our defence looks pretty decent for a back three. Bogle and Goodmanson as wing backs. Rodon on the right side, Struyk on the left. That looks good. But then you look at the cover.
Yeah.
And then you look at the wingers that are getting dropped, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cover, but I don't see anyone right now. That's the problem, because Bornau is nowhere to be seen. I don't know where he is now. No, honestly, I still have high reservations. I'm completely against Ampadu as a centre back, especially in the Premier League. I was against Ampadu as a centre back in the Championship. I think people said, no, you were wrong, because in the first season when we reached the final, Ampadu plays as a centre back, but I think we needed to play Cresswell, honestly, and leave Ampadu in the middle, because Ampadu enjoyed that ball playing defender role, because we were in the Championship and the teams were not pressing us. They were sitting, trying to counter attack us, in that sense. But the Premier League is a different beast. By the way, missing Ampadu in midfield that first season, we missed out on automatic promotion. But I think we don't have the capacity in terms of depth to play with a back three, because if one of the three players gets injured now, for example, even in midfield, Struyk is injured, he has a concussion. According to the latest reports, he will miss Man City, probably Chelsea, and maybe even more games, because there's a specific protocol that you need to adhere to. We just have Gruev now on the bench as an option, basically, because looking at the way we play, we don't have a lot of depth. And even in midfield, even as centre backs, if you have Biol and, for example, Biol, Rodon or Struyk gets injured, you just have Bornau, and we've seen against Sheffield Wednesday that he struggled with the tempo. And right now we don't know where his fitness levels are, what his fitness levels are, where he's at, in terms of his role at the club, because he hasn't featured in the Premier League. He featured only in the League Cup. It wasn't a great game, to be fair, with one of these Borough. And now those 5 million don't look spent well, honestly, looking back, because we know that he had injury problems. I expected him to be like the fifth choice, to be fair, and another centre back. And that goes again, not just about signing another centre back, but even to the discussion about the academy, because we don't have a centre back coming out of the academy. People talk, for example, about, but they are still very young, like the brother of Cresswell, as Alfie, for example. But yeah, we don't need to rush them. We don't have a centre back ready to get involved consistently as an option in the first team. So yeah, I think Biol is a good player in a league like Serie A. In the Premier League, he will always struggle because of the tempo, because of the rhythm. We've seen him, when he goes out of the line, he's risky, he takes a lot of risks. Leaving us exposed in possession, is lost out the tempo because he is not fast. It takes time, watches around, and then passes the ball. Struyk, when the ball is coming towards him, stops the ball and passes straight, because he knows what he needs to do. That's the main difference for me. So Struyk works better in the team, of course, but you can play Bjorn in certain games when you need. You can use him in the second half, for example, when you need to defend an advantage and you need to have a more physical player that can win aerial duels. Who can win aerial duels? Hopefully one day my mix between who and that, and which that will finish. And by the way, I'm looking on the left because I have Loki here on my screen, so I'm not I'm not looking in a wrong direction.
Yeah, it's one of them with him. It's again, and the back three shouts, and okay, I agree. The back five looks really good with what we've got as a back three. That would work, wouldn't it? It is Bogle and Goodmanson as wing backs would be excellent. The three would work. Biol in the middle with a two at the side, brilliant. But it's beyond that. That's we get a Biol injury. Who's going this? We're finished. We're literally. People will say Ampadu. People might say James Justin can play there. Come on, let's not. Where's our full back cover? There's no cover anywhere. Yeah, there's no cover anywhere for these positions, and that's a problem. And then our best players, our wingers, probably our best players, apart from our midfield, potentially. Where are they going? They're on the bench, Yeah, the depth isn't there anywhere. If in January, look, you never know. If in January they bring in depth in those areas, maybe that's something we consider. But we know
what we needed to sign. I said it in the summer. I'm really angry about this, honestly, because now we will go to a top club. Tarik Moremovic from Sassuolo was playing in the second tier in Italy. Now we will go to a top club because, of course, he's having a great season at Sassuolo, and he will surely move to Juve, AC Milan, or a top club in the Premier League. Right. So the train has already departed, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a few of them, and we will get into that after we've done this. There's a
Yeah.
few that are now doing really well. Yeah, Noah Okafor. We've had a lot of discussion on him already, so we'll do this one quickly. We spoke.
Yeah.
We didn't actually plan to speak a lot about Noah Okafor at the start, but we did. I'll just do mine real quick, Andre. I've already said what I've said. I think I like him a lot. Out of our signings, I think he's the one that I am most anticipating can do well in this team in the Premier League. I think as a modern player, I think he suits that well. You know, the modern Premier League player. He's quick, he's direct, he's powerful. He's also got good technique. That's what you need to be a success in the Premier League for me. And he's got that. For me, it's just the consistency of finding that. Obviously, sharpness and fitness is obviously working hard to get that, and he is getting better and better. But he's such, as I mentioned, he's an athlete that sprints so much that 60 minutes and he's done. You know, we need to get that to 70 and 80, and then we'll probably look at a more effective player. But I like him. He needs to be a little less predictable. He needs to find a way to cut inside and create combinations with the striker a bit more. I want to see him shoot more, Andrea. I think he's got a good strike on him from what I've seen. You'll be able to tell me more. But he seems like a guy who can shoot, who can hit it. But I do like Noah Okafor. I'm probably slightly higher up than you, I'd assume. I'll let you speak for yourself. But I Wingers Union, I like the player a lot. Not seeing it consistently yet, but I'm confident that if he can stay fit, touch wood, and we find a way to integrate better, more effectively, I think he'd be a good player for us. I do believe that.
Yeah, I agree. But looking at the performances, I think he's underperforming. To be fair,
Sorry,
because of
I forgot we were doing
consistency, and supposedly he should be our star player. You know,
Yeah.
should be what Solomon was for us last season, what Rafinha was for us. You know, the player that can change game for us. And right now it looks like, again, a system player. But it's not down to him for me. It's down to the team around him. He needs, like I said before, I think he will be much better if he has a creator next to him, honestly. It will be more effective, you know. I think it's down to the style of football we are forced to play. The us running out of steam in the second half forces him to get more isolated or get into deep spaces to get the ball. And he's not effective in those areas. It gets frustrating for him and for us because he so far from the goal, he has a lot of ground to cover and he loses possession a lot. He actually lost possession one more time than Aronson against Villa, actually. Very few people talked about that, honestly, or noticed that. But yeah, he lost possession more than Aronson, actually. I'm not saying he was worse or better than Aronson. I think they were on par, honestly, to be fair. But yeah, he should be our star player, looking at the squad, the one that can change game, the game changer for us. But apart from the start, when he has those goals, I think his form is deep in between. He's a rendition of a lyric of marching on together, you know, ups and downs. We've had our ups and downs. He's having in his ups and downs. So much inconsistent so far. He has the quality to change game for us, but he needs to get the consistency. So for me, he's underperforming for that specific reason, you know, and the team is not helping the way we play and not having a creator next to him, like I said before. Yeah.
Like I said, we've already spoken him, so we'll leave it with that with Noah Okafor. There's a few now that are going to have a bit more discussion. DCL. I'll start this one off, mate.
Yeah.
It is a difficult one to judge because are we playing to his strengths? A lot of people are talking about it. I wouldn't say we are necessarily, but I also believe in moments where we have, he's not been consistent enough. You know, people are acting like we don't go long at all. We do go long. We've gone long all season. We used to never go long ever in the Championship. We go along. I'd say I don't know the stats. I'd say 7 or 8 times a game we'll play a ball into him from long, and I don't think he's doing enough in them moments to create first contact. People talk about having players around him, of course, but if he's not making first contact with the ball, if he's not trapping that ball, if he's not controlling that ball, then it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Even if we have players around him, if he's not making first contact, if he's not in control of the ball, you're not finding them players. So I think he has to be better in that sense. As well as the goal scoring side of it, he's missed a lot of big chances this season. He has. I do like DCL. he was obviously at a level a few years ago where he was, let's be honest, for 2 years, he's one of the best strikers in the Premier League, the most consistent. He was. Can he find that? Right now, he's underperforming for me. There seems to be a trend here. He is underperforming for me, but I think out of all the players, the level he's played, I think we're right to say that. I think he'd say that. I think he'd want more goals. He'd want more consistency in the way he's playing. But again, we've got to consider this is a guy who didn't really have a pre-season. He's not played much recently. He's lost his form. And this is where we obviously wanted another player in there. Yeah. If you can get DCL firing and like the player, not the player, but like the player he was at Everton under Ancelotti, which is crazy that was a thing, by the way.
Yeah, I started to read his book, by the way, the other day.
Nice. I'm going to get on that one, actually. Yeah,
the dream, yeah.
Great. Oh, yeah. Anyway, we'll go off track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say he's underperforming, Andre. But what I will say as well, and I said this before, I think a lot of the distribution to him has been very poor. It's not helping him. Like I said, I think the balls that Perry do to him, they're too high, which the centre back who's got the momentum is going to dominate. He's going to win it. The ball needs to be a little lower to him so he can flick it on, or he can control with his chest. They're too high, so he's got to jump and flick. Do him a favour, do it a little lower so he can kind of just, one of them where he just kind of flick it like that. That's what it needs for me. There's inconsistencies there. It was good. What game was it where he was getting criticised and we thought it was actually decent? I can't remember which game that was. I can't remember. But my point being,
Bournemouth,
the inconsistencies. No. Yeah, it might have been. I can't remember.
Might be Bournemouth,
the inconsistencies are there. I'd say he's currently underperforming what I expect, what we need.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. You mentioned him being one of the best strikers in the Premier League in the past. Yeah, I remember for Euro 2020, there was a battle for me for the third striker, of England in that tournament. Yeah. He got called up, Bamford didn't. So I want to return to that. I think Bamford got heavily criticized for similar performances, both in the Premier League and in the Championship, to the ones that actually Calvert-Lewin is doing. Honestly, I think the level of performances is similar if you compare them. Bamford back then and in the Championship especially, and the TCL right now. I expected way a lot more, a lot more, from him. Because I think he has the experience. He knows what needs to do to help the team. Honestly, I think the fact that we see him solely as an older player is not helping him either. Because I don't think he's the older player is his main trait. Honestly, I think he's a in the box player, and getting him away from far from the box doesn't help him. Honestly. I don't think he's an older player. Okay, yeah. I don't think it's in main trait, But apart from that, even in the box, he's struggling. Sometimes he moves into the right spaces, but I expect more involvement from him. He tries to move, tries to play in that role. Try to hold the ball up, give the ball up, but I don't think he's consistent with that, like you said. I think Metra fits the system better than him. To be fair, the way Farke wants him to play, actually Metra fits that role better than him because of his body type. But yeah, I think the fact that he didn't basically have a preseason needs to be taken into account. Yeah, I agree. But the recruitment needed to take that into account and bring in another striker, because we're seeing that Pirot is not fit right now. He's not adapted to the league. As some could have expected, in the summer. So yeah, I think another 9 is needed because he scored some goals. DCL Metra scored some goals, but I still don't see the prolific 9 that can score the goals to keep us up. If I look at our number 9s, so Calvert-Lewin for me to finish. DCL for me is underperforming. At the minute.
Yeah, me too. And there is a theme, and I think this is the point. I actually think we have players there who can do better, and this is the point. They're not poor players. I just think it helps as well. Again, there's a manager conversation. But there's also a conversation of what we don't have and how that helps these players, how that helps confidence. There's a lot of conversations as to why, for sure. And there's a lot of individual ones as well. Did a player like DCL come in and expect it to be easier? Did they expect it to be different? I don't know. And it's the same with some other players that we'll get into as well. And James Justin, I'll be honest, it's you go first, Andre. It's your turn, sorry.
No, it's very simple for me. It's like we are in a court, suspended judgment. Honestly, because we've seen very little from him. So I think when he came on, I think he was against West Ham. When he came on, I think he was good, very balanced. But it's too early to call. It's a mix of judgment, suspended judgment, till further notice. Or too early to call like this individual selections. I think we still have seen very little of him to give a proper assessment.
Yeah, I agree. And again, the money we spent on a player that we probably knew wasn't going to play much because Jayden Bogle is really good.
True.
Is odd to me, but I like him generally. Again, another player that's played for his country. Was at a very high level a few years ago. We've got a few of them players that were at a decent level, and we're trying to refine that, which can work. It can, and if it does work, you're laughing. To be honest, you imagine James Justin rejuvenates his form of 3-4 years ago. DCL does it. Metra, even, who was playing for Germany. These are players that
Stuck to
have
at some cups.
Of course.
One cup, I think.
Yeah.
And it was at Mainz.
Yeah, if they can rejuvenate that, we have a chance. But this is the risk we took this summer, right?
Yeah.
Lucas Metra. Got a bit to say on this actually. A player that I think we like more than I think the general opinion. To be honest, I as soon as we signed him, but obviously I was expecting that we'd sign a proven goal scorer after the fact. We didn't. But when we signed him early as well for a free, I'm going, that's good because Lucas Metra, although he's never been prolific, he's physical. He is a physical player. And I expected him to be the third choice who can come on, be physical, have a bit of quality on the ball, take his man on, win a foul, do that sort of stuff that you need, be an outlet basically. But also, again, another player a few years ago before he had too many bad injuries at Wolfsburg. It was a good striker in the Bundesliga. He got German call-ups. You don't get Germany call-ups for any reason. He was good when he was sharp, when he was playing consistently without injuries. He was very good. And this is where it's difficult for me because I think I rate him more than most. Is he over or underperforming because he's not played that much? I actually thinking I'm going to base it on the last few performances because I think that's fair because he's not been playing. I think I'm going to go slightly overperforming. Not overperforming what I think he can be, but looking generally at what the team is now and how we played at the weekend, I think he was one of our better players. I do. He did tire. Again, another player who's not played much in the last few years, who's tiring early. But what we expected of a striker, for me in that first half, he ran the channels really well. One thing I like. DCL's a bit better centrally. I think when Metra runs the channels, because he can also run with the ball, he can dribble, he can take a man on. It was really dangerous. He puts some crosses into the box. He battles with the centre-backs. I do agree with what people said this week that he goes down too easily. I agree.
Yeah.
He's one of them players that can be frustrating at times in the sense that Rutter used to do it. He looks for the foul. When he's getting the ball with his back to goal, he's looking for the foul before he looks to secure the ball. If he looked to secure the ball first, then decide, can I draw a foul? Perfect. But he tries to do it before he gets the ball. If he did that, that's a mentality thing. That's not a quality thing for me. That's what he needs to decide. But I like Lucas Metra. I always have. I think there's always something there. He's played for his country not too long ago, not ages ago. He's still not that old. He just needs a consistent run of form. But what he does need and what we need is a prolific goal scorer, which we don't have, which he isn't. Again, going into that, he's not that. He's never been that. We can't rely on him to be that. But the fact of the matter is he our joint top goal scorer on two? It's bad. It's poor. But yeah. It's a hard one for me. I said overperforming, but actually, is it? Because I think he can be even better.
I don't think he's overperforming. To be fair, I think he's performing at the level it's required for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's performing just at the level we need him to, because I think, like you said, it was expected to be a system player, like a player that can bring on the physicality when we need to keep the ball up, and that's why I said, looking at the way we played with the long ball, is more suited than DCL to the style of football I want to play. But I think now he's finally getting the minutes he deserves, Metra, because in the end he's proven to be reliable. He's proven that he can easily bring the physicality up front for us, hold up the ball, get involved, engage, pressure the defensive backline. Again, we are talking about a player though that has had many injuries in the past, and again that relates to him. That basically commutes, translates into him getting out of energy in the second half, mid second half, because his body is different from what it was, before those injuries. He missed a lot of games when he was at Wolfsburg for that reason. But so far, I think he's proven to be reliable. I didn't understand, because Calvert-Lewin alive when the season had already started. Basically, I didn't understand why Metra's minutes dropped. Like, there were games where he would just play 5 minutes, in the final 5 minutes. I don't think that was fair on him, because he was always reliable, He was always reliable, and even in games, I think he was better than DCL overall in terms of contribution in the build-up. So yeah, I think he's a player who needs to play his style of football, needs to adapt to the team, and the main trait, the main skill in this case, the main requirement from the team, from the management, is sacrifice for the team, help the team, and that's what he's doing, I think. So the real problem for us is that he is, like you said, the best joint goal scorer, and that raises questions about our recruitment, because of course we are missing that prolific goal scorer, and the backup basically is performing better right now than our main striker, and our goal scorer from last season is on the fringes, on the sidelines, basically, he's watching from the sidelines. And again, with Pirot, I think it's very simple too. I think it's not down to him necessarily. It's down to the fact that we need a top tier goal scorer, and so I think the door is open for a possible loan move in January to a championship club or an Eredivisie club, honestly.
For Pirot, yeah.
For Pirot, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think he'd smash it. There, I do.
Yeah.
Gabby Goodmanson. Now, I've got a feeling there might be some positivity here. Gabby Goodmanson, again, and look, this is where we'll be honest. I watched him. I thought he'll be fine. He'll have games where he'll massively struggle. He'll have games where he'll be quite effective. That's why I always tell people to watch yourself. The fact of the matter is, in my opinion, is even from the first game, where I think we both think he was quite poor, he has grown massively, and he genuinely looks so secure and so safe in the Premier League. He's adapted really well, and that is full credit to him. I think his balance has really impressed me. I thought he was a player who might struggle with that tempo as well. I thought he might struggle with the tempo and the intensity. But quite frankly, for the most part, I think he's adapted extremely well to the league. One criticism I do have of him is I do think at times his final ball could be better, more decisive, more kind of, I guess, aligned with what we're looking for. His crosses are quite. They're in an area as opposed to a player, and I think we're struggling to find end product on his crosses. But what I will say, when he has space to drive, is seriously impressive. Defensively as well, I think for the most part, apart from one or two times potentially, he's had some unlucky mistakes this season. As Gabby Goodmanson, even one at the weekend. I actually think he should do better with that. I think the one is it against Fulham as well, where he did something similar. Fulham was the OG, wasn't it? That's whatever. Yeah. But the two where he's failed to deal with a long ball over to him, I'm not saying that's unlucky. I think he should do better with them. I think he's got to get him. He's got to clear it. He's got to do something. But apart from that, I think generally over the 90 minutes of each game, for me, he's been a player that's provided a lot of balance, a lot of security down that side, consistency, and he's fought well. And I do believe he is a player that is overperforming. I do. I think he's suited this level really well. and I've been pleasantly surprised with him. And honestly, long may it continue, because we need more players the new players that come in from foreign leagues. We need them to look at Gabby Goodmanson, what he's done and how he's worked on his game, and do that. Because he's the one that's setting the standard for me for the new signings. He just doesn't, you know what I mean? He doesn't look panicked. He doesn't look worried. If you like every single game is just a job to him, and he's doing his job really well. He's not bothered who he's up against. Look, we've got Liverpool soon, and I've seen him have some stinkers against Mo Salah in the past, but that's not happened yet. So what are your thoughts, Andrea, on Gabby Goodmanson this season?
Yeah, I think he's performing well. Probably our best player so far, especially in the new if you look at just the new signings, providing to be very smart one when we are in possession, contributes well, gets forward when he can progress two players, can give us the pace to run the pitch, the length of the pitch if we recover the ball into 1.5. So yeah, I agree. His final product probably can be better, can improve, but I think he's already at a very good point. I would say he's performing incredibly well. If there weren't, so far in that consideration, there were, to be fair, some mistakes, because I think a lot of the goals that we conceded that come from from our left-hand side, where he is the one in charge of covering that area. So I would say marvelously well, but I'm saying well for how he's playing in possession and also defensively with tackles, etc. But sometimes his positioning is questionable, and that's also one of the reasons why we have conceded a lot of the goals from that side.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's when he's been ran at, and he's deciding, do I go, do I cover the centre back? I think he leaves a little bit of a gap too much, whether that's in behind or through. I think he's got to make a decision early of positionally, do I sit close to the centre back and show the player on the outside, or do I get really aggressive? Which, to be fair, is what Firpo did. He usually made that decision early. Sometimes it wouldn't work. But yeah, it's a good signing for us. I think it was a solid signing, Gabby Goodmanson, and I like watching him. You know what it is as well?
He's a Premier League player, at least. If we go down or if we stay up, it can be a part of the process of growth in the club. If we go down, I think another Premier League club will surely knock on our doors to try to get him.
I agree.
He's Premier League quality.
We asked for a left back for so many years. Obviously, we had Firpo in the Championship, which was a joke. But a consistent left back who can grow with us in the Premier League, and we've got one. He's 26, 4 or 5 more years consistency. Do you know what it is, mate? And when there's a little ounce of Dallas about him on that side when he drives with it. Do you know the way Dallas are just driving?
Yeah, true.
He just go and he won't stop. There's a little ounce of that for me, and that's what I like about him. So yeah, big up Gabby Goodmanson. He's doing really well.
And I didn't know his dad played in England, Nicholas Goodmanson from Blackburn. I didn't know that, to be fair.
Yeah, a while back, yeah. Good genes. Sean, Longstaff.
Yeah, I'll start with this one. Okay. I think, unfortunately, because I love Longstaff, I see when I played, when I was playing youth football, I played in a similar role to him. It was very similar, to be fair. So I love Longstaff when he's in possession, when he is linking up, proving to be the balance in our midfield. But I think right now he's underperforming, unfortunately, because he's not consistent in games. Against Villa, he was all right. He played well when we were in possession. The problem is that if I look at many games recently, he was involved in a lot of the goals that we conceded with him not tracking back or with miscommunications between the midfield and defenders. I think he can give us much more, to be fair. He can give us much more and be really a pivotal, even more a pivotal player for us in the middle on both sides of the pitch. I think his defensive decision making needs to improve a lot, honestly, because in certain games he was part of the mistakes, part of those mistakes that led up to their goals. So I'll say he's is underperforming, unfortunately, because I really like him.
It's a difficult one. It's one of them where I say that a lot. I realise it's a difficult one, but it is though. It's football, right? It is difficult. I don't think everything's black and white. I think there's nuance to everything. For me, when he came in, and I think generally speaking, everyone would say because most people wrote him off. Most people said it was a poor signing, and I was always like, no, it's not a poor signing. It took ages, which was very frustrating, but I don't think it's a poor signing at all. I think to bring a player like that, and I saw people say Premier League experience doesn't matter. Premier League experience is vital. It is absolutely vital in every way, shape, or form. And he had that. He had quite a lot of that, and he had that at a high level for a good team in a good environment. And he's clearly brought ounces of that to Leeds. You can see on the pitch, at times he's a bit of a leader. He talks to people. He's always talking to the ref. He's got that structure in the game where he can chat to the ref, and the ref will talk back to him. I actually think when we're good, he's one of our best performers. When we're bad, it's probably because he's not performed at a level he can. I think that's kind of where it is, because I do think he's pivotal for us in that sense. One thing I really like about Longstaff is, although he's not necessarily the quickest or the most agile, he reads the game extremely well. So if we're setting up a press and they're playing into a midfielder and that's his trigger, he's always there. He's aggressive on that, and I absolutely love that. And the amount of turnovers high up we get through him is something that I think is really valuable to the way we play. On the ball as well, pretty solid. There is times where he takes one or too many touches, but when he's 1-2 touch, pass and move, I think he's very effective for us. I think a lot of his performance is down to, again, the balance of the midfield and having a lack of a proper aggressive runner around him, similar to Stack. Longstaff is the type of player who gets up and down and is more comfortable at doing that than Stack. But I think he's still not quick. He's still not aggressive in his run, right? He does it with his brain. He's smart. He knows where to be. And we lack that profile who can be an aggressive runner around him. So I actually feel from in that sense, because I think if he's left with a little less running and he can just focus on his role, and we can maybe get someone in to track the runners in the box as opposed to him. Because you can see there, there's times where he'll track the runner just gets away from him. He doesn't have that explosive 5-meter pace. And I don't think any of our midfield do. And that's an issue. When there's aggressive box runners, that's the issue for me. Well, one of them. But I'd say, I wouldn't say he's overperforming. I'd say he's performing. Bit of a cop-out. But I wouldn't say he's underperforming just because I think a lot of the issues in games are not down to him. The issue that is tracking runners, I agree. We've said that many times, is pitches where he doesn't track his runners, but that seems to be a team thing as well. Ampadu's done it a lot, but you wouldn't expect. Biol's done it. Stack's done it. It's not just a him thing, but I'd expect him to know better in that sense, because he is probably the most experienced Premier League player in our team who's had good experience. But I'm happy with how he's playing, if that makes sense. I don't think he's overdoing what he could. I'm not going into games after games going, he's really bad today. If he is one of the poorer performers, he's never the worst performer. He never stands out as being really poor. He can look a little lethargic at times. That's definitely a thing. But for me, yeah, I understand why you said underperforming. I do. I expect a lot from him as well. But I actually think he's been solid. I don't think core issues are down to him. I think it's down to what we have around him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I get your point. My reasoning. I explain my reasons, So yeah, I think your point is valid too. But yeah, I still think he's underperforming because I expect a lot more from him, honestly. Let's not forget that even after the Saudi takeover at Newcastle, he played a huge part. Of course, after that they signed Tonali, they signed other players, but he was still involved, and even as a sub, he was still one of the most important players there for what he could bring to the team, So I expect a lot more from him, honestly, on both sides of the pitch, because I think he was involved going forward more at Newcastle compared to what we see now at Leeds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, there's one more left. I mean,
yeah, I think we already talked about him. He is not performing clearly because he's not playing. I don't know what happened with him. Honestly, the signing looks questionable now, looking at the fact that he even misses the bench. So yeah, what can we say about him? Honestly,
I found it so strange, and I've not even done vast research. This is just one I saw straight away that Tanganga was available for 1 million as a third, fourth choice backup in the Premier League. He'd have been available. I actually quite like Tanganga. He can also cover fullback if really needed.
yeah,
I think that was a great signing. You're saving £4 million, on an add to an attacker or a loan signing. So I found it a strange one. £5 million for someone that's not even getting in the squad.
And
Injuries as well.
We went for James Justin, from Leicester, from the fullback. We could have gone for Dara O'Shea, for Greaves, for example. Jaco Greaves, there's many good, decent players that played last season in the Premier League that could have stayed in the league, Even from Bayern, there was Leif Davids as a backup, for example.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Not the place.
Yeah, there's not much to say on Ball now. Hopefully, he changes his what's going on and he can perform, but right now that's not come to pass. So, what we will do, right, the last kind of 15-minute section we're going to talk about here. The January transfer window is coming. We will have a more in-depth pod where we will fully discuss positions and players. We'll probably do some profiles as well. But this is just a quick little thing at the end that we're going to talk to you guys about. I think there's 4 positions we believe need to be strengthened.
Yeah.
Andrea's got a lovely little image here of the names of the players. I've not mine's on a document at the side. So I'm looking over there. It's because I'm looking, but a lot of what I've got are on here as well because obviously we talk a lot. So yeah, number 8, clearly a profile, and I actually think one of the most important. I'd say apart from maybe a striker, because we don't have it. We don't have the type of number 8 where wanting, right? You look at these profiles. We don't have this profile. We have good players. I've always maintained this. Solid, good midfield, very reliable. But we need this. We need a aggressive box-to-box player who has high intensity and high aggression and can run with the ball, can drive with it, and can create. And these are some names that we've gone with. Now, obviously, I'm just going to talk about the one that I absolutely love, and that's Rodrigo Zalazar. Yeah. Probably on the more expensive side because he has had 2 very good seasons in Portugal. But I believe Braga are not in Europe. Is that correct? Or they're out?
I think they are, honestly. I can check live. I think they are. European competitions. But yeah,
regardless,
what yeah.
He's a player I've liked since he was at Schalke, playing in the second tier. And the same season I watched Tanaka was the same season I saw this guy and went, this guy's going to be quality.
Europa League.
Okay. So, but for me, again, he's performed a lot. He's a player who can actually play. He is better as an 8. He can play in the 10. He's done it as well. He brings so much aggression. He played for Bielsa the other week, I believe. He brings aggression. He brings tenacity. But he also brings quality on the ball, technical quality. Very press resistant. Under pressure, can knock it through a man's legs and drive onto the ball. These little things that we don't have. Final third, way to pass. Really, really good. Really good way to pass. Yeah, look, there's times where he can be a little over-aggressive. He can be a little zealous at times on the ball and lose it or try something too complicated. But we have the safe players in our midfield. I think we need an expressive one. So for me, Rodrigo, I assume he'd be expensive now. But yeah, there's Rocco Reitz as well. Reitz, I don't know how you say it.
Right.
He's a player that I really like. Amir Richardson as well.
Yeah, Richardson. Sorry, I had to make this because I didn't have the time. Honestly, I had to make this with the ChatGPT.
Does he still play in France? Yeah, he's still in France.
No, for Fiorentina. He played last season, but you know how many minutes he played? Technical choice, not an injury or anything else.
Really?
0.
Wow.
That's why I think he moved in January. Honestly.
Okay.
So it will be available because he has a good mix of 8. Composure, vision, and also pace. He has pace. He has quality. So I think maybe Serie A in terms of expression, because again, physical, tactical league is not the best league for him. Honestly, I think in the Premier League you will work better. To be fair. on my side, instead I want to talk about one player in particular, because there's also a player that I think will be absolutely tailored for our style of football. Absolutely looking at that box-to-box runner, number 8, Bellingham type in this case. Arthur Atta from Udinese, but I fear that some big clubs might have eyes on him, very, very good player. Another player that I like, mentioned in the summer, Lucas Dacunia from Como, but again, Como having a great season, so very difficult. But yeah, that would be another profile perfect for us. But the player that comprises what we need in terms of that number 8 with the physicality, the capability of contributing in the build-up with his passes, his movement, but also his capability to play more offensive, to be box to box, to run. I think that player is not a player that runs a lot with the ball, but is very good to read the spaces, less touches, better quality, a lot of off the ball movement. Christian Torsved from Sassuolo, honestly. The son of, from people who watch football in the 90s and the 80s, the son of Erik Torsved, the former goalkeeper of Norway and Spurs. I think Torsved will be a very, very good profile for us. Now he's getting back in form with Sassuolo because he was injured at the start of the season. Started against Italy with Norway. I think it's a profile that will work for us. Another profile that I think Frendrup, but again, Genoa are struggling in the lower ends of the table in Serie A. Frendrup already mentioned in the summer too, 2 years ago actually, when we were talking about him for the future. But yeah, we were talking about him, but we said, no, there's no way he moves to the championship. So that's why he was left out. I think right now he might be moving soon. And Genoa, maybe if they are still in the lower end of the table, he might look to get a move, A very versatile number 8. He is too, Frendrup, Danish player. But yeah, again, same as that, I think some big clubs might have to look at him. Another player that I would really like is Manzambi. He has a lot of pace from Freiburg, a lot of pace, a lot of pace. Another one under the radar, I think Alex talked now, Ben Cheboshak has made a tweet about him too. I've seen him play against the Republic of Ireland with Hungary. Was very impressed, honestly. I was very impressed. I was very, very impressed. He has a very good eye seeing, I think, for the future, honestly.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. Another one under the radar, I think Medon Berisha from Lecce, Svamberg, and and Folorunso. They are the type of profiles of physical player that has a good pace and can progress and take part in the attacking phase too. So yeah, these were the criteria, But my top pick right now for the number 8 would be Arthur Atta, of course, but I don't think we can get him right now realistically. But I think there's still room for that if we act before the big clubs. Maybe the big clubs will try to get him on the end of the season. But Torsved could be a good compromise for me, honestly, in the number 8.
Yeah, like I say, we're going to do a more detailed thing with this in a few weeks. Don't worry about it. We will. This is just a quick little thing. Anyone wants to go research and have a look. Right winger, Haj Musa is the funnest player. I absolutely love him.
Yeah,
he's so frustrating, but he's so fun. Like if Leeds fans want kind of a Mahrez-esque without the quality yet, someone who gets the ball and every single time just tries some crazy skill. Haj Musa, I loved watching him. Him and Paixão last year at Feyenoord was the most fun I've ever seen watching. It was so good. Yeah, I love Haj Musa, but
he's versatile. He's versatile. He can even play in the 10. That's why.
Yeah, it's frustrating. He's frustrating as well, though. But I do like him. Fotawu again, smashing up the championship. He's such a powerful player as well. Direct. A little name there, Gilavogi at the bottom there.
Yeah, the brother of Big Josu. Yeah, he was very good, I think, for St. Pauli last season. This season he's returned to Lens because he was on loan. He's not playing much, but I think he has the capability, his experience. He's 27 now. So I think he's an out-and-out winger. He's not a big star, of course, but he has the he has the skills that we need on the right. Honestly, the 1v1, the out and out. And another name that I put on, is Luis Enrique, who is basically not playing at AC Milan. He was a big player for Marseille in the last season. I think that's a player that is going under the radar, and they cannot afford to leave him. Honestly, not playing at AC Milan, at Inter Milan. Sorry. So even alone, maybe in January, I think could be a good opportunity. But my top pick would be Gustav Isaksen, honestly. I was not a big fan of his when he moved to Italy, to Lazio at the start, because he looked very inconsistent, very selfish at times. Now he's even starting from Denmark. He's growing. He's always attacking. He's played against Scotland recently, so some Scots watching this will remember him. He's a type of player that will absolutely fit in a Leeds, honestly, because he every time he has the ball, straight into the other player, honestly, straight into another player, attacking, and he turns a lot, left, right. So absolutely the unpredictability of that player, I think. And Lazio, they have a blocked transfer window right now because of some financial regulations, so they need to sell to reopen the window for the market in January, to get back into business again. There were rumors about Guendouzi moving to Sunderland for 30 millions in January. I don't think I think it's easier to get Isaksen than Guendouzi. So if we need a right winger, I think Isaksen, because he was very close to leave Lazio in January, last January. Then it didn't materialize, I think he was moving to the Eredivisie, I think, probably to PSV. So it didn't happen. But I think now we need to seize the opportunity, honestly, because it's a, when Brentford got Damsgaard, for example, for Sampdoria, something similar in this case.
Yeah. No, there's names again, and I saw Torre at Hoffenheim for a lot of money, but he's been linked with by Premier League clubs. Again, a lot of money, and that will not be one of us, probably. But I assume it will be someone in and around the bottom half, but another direct winger who can affect the league and is young. There's loads of players. There's Ansgar Nauf at Frankfurt, who I really like. Players relatively, he'd be a difficult one, obviously, but I'm just saying, ideally, thinking of profile, a direct one-on-one winger out wide on the right with good cross delivery and final third product would be really impressive. I really like Patrick Wimmer at Wolfsburg.
I like him.
Bit of a different profile. Struggles really to find a consistent role in that setup, but I think he's a big, strong winger who's direct as well and has a really good shot on him. I think there's a way in which he'd be a good Premier League player. I've liked him for a while now. Let's have a look here as well. Jean-Matteo Bahia as well at Frankfurt, another winger that started this season extremely well, but isn't playing much now. He gets minutes off the bench, but he plays on the left. William Gomez as well at Porto is a little one I mentioned to you a few weeks ago, Andrea. A winger at Porto, one to watch. He's a ridiculous player, but I like the Fatawu one. I do. Haj Musa I'd love as well, but I don't think we'd get him, but I love Haj Musa. Fatawu would be a great signing for us. He would.
And Leicester need money, apparently. They need some income.
Yeah, exactly. The creator, there's a lot of chat. And to be honest, I don't need to look at my Excel because they're all here, to be honest. The creator, we need a creator. Do we, is that an 8? Is that a 10? Whatever it is, the profile of creator, we do not have it, whether that's a winger as well. Gustavo Sarri is the one I absolutely love. He's actually played he's the captain this season. But I think he's still 19 or 20. He's the captain of his team. He's playing a deeper role this year. Yeah. Playing a deeper role. So he's not really involved in the final third as much. He's playing quite deep, actually. But he's the captain. And he's a player for me that is or will be in the near future Premier League ready. He's so sound on the ball. He's massively press resistant. Again, he's a dominant player. There's airs of Rutter about him in possession, that he's got that little creative 5-6 meters where he just gets the ball, does a skill, takes a guy on. Needs to develop consistency in the final third. But Gustavo Sarri, if anyone's not watched Gustavo Sarri, he's a really good player. Paul Nibel as well, obviously, who is tearing it up, or was earlier on in the season. He's an excellent young player as well. Watched him a lot from Germany under 21s. Mainz. Lavo Magier as well. Or Magier, I'd say that. Another player, kind of like it. I said this before, a bit of an Aronson style to him. Really good way to pass, really technical player. And obviously Haj Musa. And the other guys I'm not too aware of, Andre, if you want to...
Who? Which one?
The other ones, any of the ones.
Right. Yeah, Aymar Ross, I think, is a great player. There were rumors about him moving to Athletic Club Bilbao in the summer, but he stayed at Osasuna, but played at the Olympics for Spain, was a starter in that role, very, very good creator, honestly. Very, very good moves all around, very direct, good playmaker, can progress also with the ball. Is that is like a similar type of player like Pedri in a certain sense, but more offensive, in terms of the areas he covers, plays for Osasuna, of course. He's from Pamplona. So yeah, it will be difficult, honestly, but it will be a very good signing. Constant Elias, again, we've talked about him in the summer, still playing for PAOK, still growing, player that has the potential to be a star for me, in terms of his impact if he moves to not a star necessarily, but a top player, an efficient player in the Bundesliga, for example, or a top tier. So yeah, another one, Tony Fruk, remained at Rijeka in the end in the summer. He's still smashing it in the Hrvatski Nogometni Liga, the first tier of Croatian football. We talked about him extensively in the summer, so what I think about him. It will even be a very good deal in terms of money spent. And yeah, the last two, Abosbek Fayzulayev plays for for Başakşehir in Turkey. Uzbeki international, plays for Uzbekistan. Saw him especially for his national team. I think he was at the Olympics too, because they played the Olympics last season. Very attacking-minded creator, very lively, a lot of unexpected dribbles, hardworking. So yeah, one that goes under the radar. And the other one, I think, another one that has gone under the radar, Aitel Hadji from Union Saint-Gilloise, is a very good number 10, very good creator, very direct, one-touch playmaker, direct into David, direct into Kalaili, into the spaces. So yeah, another one that has gone under the radar for me, Anwar Aitel Hadji.
Yeah, again, there's some. We'll do a lot more detail in the future on this.
Yeah,
we definitely
absolutely.
will. But yeah, look at the names. Go check them out. Some really good players. I do like Nibel. I really do.
Yeah.
Number 9. Now, I've got one name that I don't think's on here, who for 2 seasons now has been absolutely tearing it up in Portugal. I think he's now at Rio Ave in Portugal. Where was he last year? I can't remember where it was. And his name is Clayton.
Clayton. Yeah.
Yep. Big, aggressive attacker that can run in behind. Not the best technically, but best believe it bothers centre backs. He gets a goal every other game. He got 14 in 30 last year. I believe he's on like 7 or 8 in 13 or 14 this year. He's absolutely smashing it. Such a good player, a guy that can run in behind, but a guy that is physical enough and robust enough for me to fit the Premier League. He's not the biggest name. He's not the most flashy player, but I think he scores goals in the Premier League. If you give him service, he scores goals. So he's one that people can go check out. But yeah, go on, Andre. I'll let you. Just Troy Parrott as well, the guy we mentioned.
Yeah, of course. I think Parrott is a viable one. Absolutely smashing it for Ireland, and Azad, of course, I think he's ready to make the next step. But I start from the final two, Promise David and Tresoldi, of course, Nicola Tresoldi. Both playing in Belgium, one for Union Saint-Gilloise, David, and Tresoldi, of course, for Club Brugge. Moved this season from Hanover in the Zweite Bundesliga. I think they are difficult because David already has big clubs talking about him. Tresoldi, I think he has a lot of potential. There's a battle between Germany and Italy because he's playing for the Germany under 21. Italy are trying to convince him to revert to his motherland, because he moved when he was 13 to Germany with his father. And his mother. His father used to play in Serie A actually. But yeah, I think Tresoldi has a lot of potential to be a top 9. So if we can if there's a slim chance we can get ahead of the big clubs, take it because he's smashing it at Club Brugge. Maybe he's not a prolific goal scorer just yet, but I think he's already performing better than they expected in Belgium. And even if you watch the game that he played against Barcelona, he was absolutely proving to be a problem for the Barcelona defense. Maybe we can ask Oscar about it because he watched every Barca game. But then other names that I put in are Matteo Pellegrino. He's 24 now, playing for Parma. Scored a brace in the weekend against Verona. Very tall, physical 9, hold up, absolutely threat in the box. I think he's another player that remember Retegui when he moved from Genoa to Atalanta, now to Saudi, but is proving to be a prolific goal scorer for Italy. I think it's a similar case, this one. Pellegrino has the potential to be, if he moves to the right club, to score goals for fun. For me, of course, we know about Josh Sargent. I think he's a good fit for our system. Ugo Duro, very similar to Josh Sargent for me, in terms of the way he can fit into our system. Troy Parrott, of course, is a very different player compared to Metra and DCL, so a more versatile one is needed for me. That's what we need from Pirot, but he's not versatile. That's the problem. Another one, Boulaye Dia from Lazio. Again, player that is playing now because Castellanos is injured. And Dalinga, more physical one, Bologna, the backup of Santiago Castro. But he's also starting to score goals, and in the Premier League, I think he can be a good fit in terms of a mix of good movement and also body type, because he's a physical player. He used to play for Toulouse in France. Another one, more similar in this case to Tresoldi or Pellegrino, is Hollerbach. He's moved this season from Union Berlin to Mainz, but he's struggling there. He's not scored many goals. I think he scored just 2 goals. Compared to last season where he scored 13 and 10 for Union Berlin. He's a very good finisher. I will define him as a finisher. Same as Dovikas, now playing for Como, but I think they will try to sign another number 9 in January, so there may be a door open for him, because Morata, I don't think they will sell him. And the final one, Hueda, who scored 13 in 13 games in the Eredivisie this season for Feyenoord, and is a friend of Tanaka, first and foremost, because they play together in the national team. But he's a very versatile, despite being tall, he's a very versatile number 9 at Feyenoord, at the Kuip.
Yeah, that's it, guys. I think that's the last one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the last one. Yeah. So far, we still have time. It's November, so there's still time. These are early suggestions. These are really suggestions. We want it to be because it's not January yet, but it's not that far out. So we've seen links arising for other clubs. I think our recruitment team has started to think about the January transfer window. We don't know yet if Leeds are going to invest or not. I think we need to invest to stay up, honestly. We've seen also up north, up the Adrian Wall, on the other side of Adrian Wall, in Glasgow, the sacking of the CEO and the sporting director at Rangers. The Rangers are owned, 55% of shares are owned by 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh. So they decided to act after they had sacked Russell Martin at the start, during the early stages of the season. Now they've also sacked the sporting director and the CEO. They deemed that the technical project failed. So, of course, the question is, if Farke goes, like I said, if Farke goes, I think the director of football, Adam Anderson, needs to go to, me, and 2 weeks ago. So you see, 49ers have sacked Russell Martin, and then after some weeks of reflection, decided to take an hard reset also in the sporting direction, the technical director side of the club at Ibrox. So will that be the case if Farke goes? You can guess so. It will be different, So yeah, there's it's not that far, the January transfer window, and we cannot afford to make mistakes in this one, honestly, because it will seriously harm our chances to stay up. To be fair, of course.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll leave it on that, Andrea. I have to literally go work in 10 minutes, so I've got to get changed and shoot off. Good. Pleasure as usual, mate. Thank you.
Pleasure as usual, man. Always a pleasure, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for everyone for commenting and getting involved. Absolute legends. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully with beating City, nothing to worry about.
Metra will score a goal.
Win.
I don't know if we win or lose, but Metra will score a goal at the Etihad.
Ex-club,
We'll see.
So yeah, see everyone in a bit. We'll up. Bye-bye, everyone. See you later.